Hey everyone, welcome. We are doing a Biofi update. We wanted to talk about the CE report that was just released. I wanted to congratulate Brian and the team for getting through CE without having to go back and fix anything, which means they did a good job the first time around. But Brian, did you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what's been going on with the Phoenix X and where we are right now?
Yeah, we're very excited about that. And please let me know if there's any issues hearing me. But I would first like to just mention that we are so excited. And I just want to thank you, Robert, for the opportunity to speak here and for the incredible community that you have. It is amazing. None of this is possible. None of this is possible without the community. We are not able to do anything in the market. We're not able to produce a product to go to CE testing or anything without the incredible community behind this. So we really want to thank the community, and we really appreciate all that you do. We are so excited, Robert, because the CE report was given to us ahead of schedule. It was given to us without any issues in the report. So this is almost unheard of in the industry, to be able to go through an extensive testing process that takes many weeks of just hardcore testing, where people are working multiple shifts. They're taking the phone through the paces, which is connecting up to every kind of Wi-Fi signal and carrier signal, and turning it off and on and throwing it up in the air and catching it, sitting on it like you're on a bus, you put it in your back pocket. All these things that put the phone through this rigorous testing, all of that stuff has been going on day and night. And we got the report back without one issue that requires it to go through a re-architecture or a redesign. And imagine that Samsung would be happy to get through without these kind of issues. It's just amazing. It's amazing that we got all through this whole process and have a 2-page certificate along with megabytes and megabytes, dozens and dozens of megabytes of reports that get produced out of the testing process, hundreds and hundreds of pages of test results of all the frequencies and validations of all the networks, and using the phone in rigorous conditions. It's quite amazing, and we are so happy, Robert. We are so excited to be at this stage of the process and to have received that certification. So we put out a press release, and I just want to pause there for 1 second. Has everybody seen the press release?
We have shared the press release in the Discord, and we've been talking about it. Yahoo put something out, and I think it was, what is it, PSY or something put it out. But I will grab it from the screen right now, and I will put it up just in case anybody has not seen it.
It got picked up by a few places.
Fantastic. So that's a global press release. We will reference that press release in articles that are produced, in newsletters, in television interviews. We will reference that press release over and over again because it really sets the stage for the next phase of where we take the project. With the CE report, and by the way, let me just say this, any carrier in any country in Africa, Europe, and Southeast Asia where we do business with the Phoenix X will accept the CE report. So it's a global report. It's a report that you can carry into any country in those countries and territories in those regions. You can take this report, and along with a government agency like ICASA in South Africa, you can take the report along with the approval from the government agency and then do business in that country or countries and territories. You can do business with that CE report. It's a global report, and it opens up or paves the way to do business in all of those regions and territories. So it's quite an amazing thing. And we are working diligently right now to get this through the ICASA process in South Africa.
How far are we away from the ICASA process, you think, of getting that done, Brian?
They usually quote an 8-week window, give or take a few weeks, depending on what happens with their people looking at it. We're working overtime to get that accelerated, and we're going to try to get it done in 4 weeks and move it through the process as quickly as possible. but it is a government process. It's not like the CE testing, which is very scientific. It's more of a kind of a touchy-feely, if you will. They have some paperwork, and then some people have to review it and maybe show it to their bosses. It goes through a management process. There might be some light testing of the devices, but nothing even near what CE would put it through in terms of the testing.
And it's been in ICASA for testing maybe for a couple weeks already, right? Because I know we got through CE testing maybe, two weeks ago. And did it go right into ICASA, or has it just been put in ICASA?
We started ICASA a few months ago with the paperwork, and so we filled all that out. We put all the information in place and have everything together. So they have everything to start it and do it. We will find out if anything has been done this week, but I guarantee you that the moment that it starts, it could be tomorrow, the next day, the moment that it starts, we will be working to get that through that process as quickly as possible, if not 4 weeks or sooner.
And for the people that don't know, what happens after we get an approval from ICASA?
So there's a few other contracts that we're putting in place. For example, you guys are aware of the Verizon contract in the United States. So we will have contracts in place with companies like MTN, with Vodacom, with Telecom, with Cell C. And these types of contracts, they wait until ICASA approval. The CE report is the entry point into everything. And ICASA approval is what allows you to essentially sell phones in South Africa and a dozen other countries. The idea is that with the approval process, then you can start your importation, you can start your sales, you can work with a distribution model as soon as you have ICASA approval. In parallel to ICASA, we will get as much of that done as we possibly can, given the legal structure. And then once ICASA's approval is completed, we will wrap up any contract elements, any distribution elements, and likely immediately put in our first order.
If everything goes well, where do you see the first order going in? Is this January, February? What is the best case scenario? What is the maybe worst case scenario?
I would say best case scenario is right as we cross into January, and within days, if not a couple weeks of the new year, we should have an order placed, and that would be the best case. Coming into the end of the year, possibly getting something in by the end of the year, although because of the holidays and people being out, the South African economy is much being so affiliated with the British for so long. They do celebrate Christmas and New Year's, and much like you would see in the United States. So people would take time off at the end of the year and maybe not work so hard to complete something. But irrespective of that, knowing that, we're still going to work with the internal teams at ICASA and see if we can get somebody to come in and still move that forward.
That's good news. That's good news. If everything goes well, we might see the Phoenix phones in stores maybe February or March if everything goes well.
Absolutely. And you'll recall from the trip that we took to Hong Kong and Greater China that the factories are ready for the orders. We have validated the manufacturing capacity and the distribution flow to get the phones to market. And now with the CE testing to confirm that the phone is functioning at the highest quality points, along with manufacturing and order, it's just literally at that point a process of logistics, getting the phones from point A to B, importing them, and then making sure that we match them up with the buyers.
No, that's great. That's great. And if anybody from the audience has any questions, please go ahead and type them in so I can ask them. After the phone is all said and done and we start getting them into stores, what is next for Biofi? What's on the roadmap after the version is complete and people start buying these phones?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we see the Africa continent itself is going to be quite a large endeavor, and it's going to be going on for many years. So it'll have a life cycle that starts in its roots in South Africa and then quickly moves rapidly across the continent likely Nigeria being the second country
Where the fuck is he?
behind South Africa because of the size of the population and the need that they have for this technology. It's going to transform, it's going to help so many people in what the phone is going to provide. So there's going to be years of just intense work that's taking place across the continent of Africa. And then we should quickly pivot, Robert, with the 4G phone, quickly pivot into Southeast Asia and then South America. So it'll have a market following what happens in the continent of Africa. It'll have a market that moves then into the Southeast Asian market and then into South America. So you will see that process take place. Now, while that's going on, and the 4G technology is still quite helpful because 5G is coming down the road. And in Africa, it's barely a couple of % of people that actually use 5G. It's a very small number. Even though Samsung and Apple and Huawei have phones that support 5G, that technology is really not being used. So 4G is going to be around for another decade, at least in Africa. And better yet, we can provide this phone at a price point that makes sense to the average everyday person. So when they take a look at a 5G phone from Huawei and it's going to cost them $1,000, but they can't use 5G, and they take a look at this phone and say, wait a second, this one is $200, it's packed with much better technology, they're going to want to go with this phone over an expensive Huawei phone.
Hold on, Brian, please don't shut off NFT sales until January, February, or even longer. Kind of question here, how are the NFT sales going for the James Pelton put together the NFT sales? How are those going, and how can we create more buzz around those sales to raise money so we can place a bigger order for the phones?
Oh, I love that question. I think for the community, if for those that have ears, please take the Twitter messages, the X as it were messages, and Telegram, Discord, Facebook, and get those shared out. Right? This is literally, it's all just about getting the word in front of people so they can see it. It comes down to honestly simple marketing, just getting the word out so people can see it. And that's done by sharing, by adding it to your portfolio of social media channels. And in fact, Chris usually loves it answering. Chris, do you want to jump in on this question? There's lots of ways to get that communication out there.
Hit us up, Chris. What you got?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, was talking on mute there. Yeah, there's lots of channels. If that's what you're asking, Brian, there's lots of ways for people to get involved and learn about what's going on. Is the question, Brian, just how they find out more about it? Or are you asking what's our outbound strategy? What is the question that you're asking there?
I think there's two things. One is maybe talk a little bit about what we see working in the channels today. Some of the formats seem to go better than others. And then how can people share that out? What would be a way they could get involved to help?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, it definitely our most active channels are Twitter and Telegram. In fact, I would say the Telegram channels, Biofi community, and there's a Biofi buyers channel as well. The two of them have been really spiking in volume and activity over the past couple of weeks. So that is the best place and the first place I would go to learn more about the project itself, the NFT, the device, the Phoenix X. Those are the two I would go to. Twitter's great, or X is great, but it moves rather quickly, so it's hard to follow a train of thought as we post for different topics. So I would say Telegram is really a great place to go. We always talk about ways people can get involved with the community. I get a lot. I can't tell you how many Telegram messages I get a day on people who want to be community managers. And I just tell them, come into the channel. If you want to do something like that for us, come and be part of the community first. And that is the best way to get involved and share things around. People like Dagonod, like Crazy Susie, like Kismet, all of these folks are part of the channel, and they've just taken a step up to be involved in the community and really become leaders out there, and they help educate everybody in the space. So we're really grateful for them. And there's more too. So they're not the only ones. There's Nick and a few others as well. And of course, Tyler on our team is always in there spending a lot of time and working with people. We also have that referral program that Miguel Thorpe thought up a while back, maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer, that we put into place. If people refer people in that way, people that you think want to get involved, or if a good project that would be a good fit within the Biofi ecosystem, let us know. And we'll reach out to them. We do constant outreach for people in Africa first and foremost, because we're looking for opinion leaders. We're looking for people like Yaliwe, who is just such a great resource across the continent of Africa for crypto and blockchain. We're looking for people who have audiences or people who are just really interested. We had a conversation today with someone who loves to bring innovation to Africa, but he's focused on education. So when he learned about the Phoenix X and how we're going to use it as a platform, it's not just a mobile phone, but a platform to deliver education. He was so engaged, and he wants to move forward with us and figure out how we can work together. So it's a long and rambling answer, but there's plenty of opportunity to learn about what's going on through the community, through us, and to actually bring people into the family if it's you or people that you know who would be a good fit for us. So yeah, we love having those conversations, and it's all about building and building.
Are there any partnerships that you guys can discuss that maybe people don't know about yet that you are able to speak on and talk about?
Well, we talk about the ones that are pretty common. We talk about DISC. We talk about CyberLeet. We haven't talked about Governor Dow in a while, but they're partners of ours still on our website. We talk about some things in South Africa as well. The ones that we've published and we talk about on a regular basis, the ones that were good to talk about today. There are some that are just on the cusp of signing or announcing that you'll be hearing about in the coming weeks. So there'll be several of them before the end of the year, and then more beyond that. So unfortunately, until the ink is at least wet on the agreement, we can't announce them. But there's some really fun and exciting things coming up that we think the community is going to love to hear about. So just stand by on a couple of those.
I appreciate it. Yeah, go for it, Brian.
Yeah, I would add to that and just note a couple things. So in the continent of Africa, I would like to highlight a couple things. So if you have not done so, I would recommend signing up for the newsletter. So there's a monthly newsletter that goes out, and we'll put another edition out next week or shortly after that, before the end of the month, and likely before Christmas, because that'll be a busy time for everyone. But certainly, please read the newsletter. There's a couple interesting articles in there. One last month in the November edition talks about the AfricaCom conference in Cape Town. So imagine this, right? We're in the middle of one of the largest conferences in Cape Town, where you've got over 15,000 people between two buildings, and you've got everybody there from a startup, and a couple of United States startups were there. You have that going on, and to government entities, to large corporations, and everybody is vying to talk about their technology and build relationships and figure out how to collaborate. So we're right smack in the middle of that, working with people from all around the world. There's 140 countries represented there. And even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has got a big bullpen there, loaded down with projects that they're supporting. And by the way, that's another organization that we're happy to connect with in South Africa. They have a good presence there. They're connected to a lot of businesses, and they're connected to the government in a very nice way, a very integrated way. Robert, when we talk about people that we're working with, in addition to being at AfricaCom and other events like that, we have the outreach happening on steroids across the continent. So even today, we met with two people, one from Nigeria and the other, I believe, was South African. And I wasn't on the other call. And we had dozens and dozens of these leading up to the Africa conference. Each one of those people that we talked to are like a Yaliwe. So imagine Yaliwe out there working hard to bring the knowledge to the masses across Africa, and then working to showcase the Phoenix X, right? There's a lot of work that has to be done there. Each of these people that we're working with represent large businesses medium-sized businesses, small businesses, government agencies. They're all over the map. And we're creating relationships and contracts with many of them. And so I would say down to the person, every single one wants to work with us. And our job, Robert, is to figure out the capacity by which we work with them to help get the phone out into the market. Some of them will be super salespeople. Some of them will be advisors. Some of them will have contracts where we're sharing services. Some of them will be on the Phoenix X device itself. So depending on the relationship that we build with them, each and every entity will play a role in the rollout of the Phoenix X. And this will become to the tune of thousands of people. We realize to sell millions of phones, we have to have thousands of these relationships. So this is what we talk about in terms of, and Robert, I will tell you, get your bags packed, because you're going to be, just like we went to Hong Kong and China, I'd like you to see what's unfolding in Africa. And for others in the Cryptonaires community who are maybe nearby in an adjoining country or area, territory, it would be nice to also have, maybe even for the launch party, to have a few people from the community attend with us. That would be lots of fun.
That would be lots of fun. And if anybody is close, let me know and I will give you the details of the party and we'll have a real good time.
Absolutely.
One other thing I'd like to add to what Brian's talking about is with all this outreach we're doing to extend the reach, our reach for the Phoenix X, there's two sides to it. The flip side of that coin is that when we talk to these people, and there's a lot of technology firms out there that we're working with, it's also about seeing what kind of solutions they have that we can bring back to the community. So the Phoenix X is, of course, the first thing that we're the tip of the spear as we're out there having conversations. But if we can bring something back, whether it's someone who does, app development or bot building or anything that the community might be able to benefit from, we're going to work to get them integrated back into the Biofi ecosystem so that you, the community, can take advantage of it as well.
No, I love that, Chris. I love that. What is next after the Phoenix One, though? I know this is going to be a multi-year. You get the biometric technology, you get the SayTech wallet, or is there anything else that you guys are working on in the background that you can discuss, or is it all still hush?
I say that, and that's a fantastic question from the earlier one. I would say think about the contract with Verizon. Think about the 5G. We view that in the African market, for us to really make an impact and help people, we stick with 4G for a while because that's the most cost-effective solution for the continent. And in fact, Southeast Asia and South America. Now let's think for a moment about 5G. We want to get the more expensive, the more elaborate version of this phone out to markets like the US and Europe with a 5G version. And that's where 5G will really shine, more so than we could imagine in, say, like the African market. That phone is not far from being developed. We are very close to having that as well. And if we think about a logical roadmap between the different devices, that 5G version will be the next big thing that gets offered, but not in Africa, not in a lot of Southeast Asia or even South American countries. You're going to see that in the United States. You're going to see that in Europe and probably the Middle East. So it'll have a very specific higher end audience where that phone is sold and delivered and used by people that are accustomed to spending a lot more money on a device.
No, that's fantastic. Is there anything else that you guys want to share that you think is important other than what we've gone over already?
I would say that probably the biggest thing, and I'm just trying to think of human words that can say this in a way that doesn't sound like it's hype, but I got to tell you, getting through this CE process is a very big deal. This is something, it's a huge deal. It's try to find other companies that out there anywhere that can go and do something like this and figure out how to do it and pull together proficient teams to be able to create something like this. It takes years and it takes a lot of energy and focus and things we couldn't even imagine. And this is all doable because we have a wonderful community and an amazing team. That's what allows this to happen. But to get through CE, Robert, and be at this stage with the final certificate and be able to move the phone forward into the market is just incredible. It's hard to find words to describe it. but it is an amazing feat, and we're so excited. This is going to open up an incredible set of opportunities for the token, for the project, for the community, for every person who uses the device. It's going to open up lots of opportunities.
No, I love that. I was looking at the chart, and just from the end of October, you guys have done basically a 5x, almost just under a 5x in the price, and it does appear like it's getting ready to go even higher. Personally, we're not going to hold you to financial advice. Where do you see Biofi in 6 months as far as price goes? Do you think we're going to pass the 1 cent range, or do you think we're going to be under 1 cent? What is your personal feelings?
All of this is 100% market driven. And what I can say is that we're doing everything we can. And by the way, we love doing this stuff, Robert. And you'll know from traveling with us, this is all 100% passion. We love doing this. We love helping people. We love getting this technology in the hands of people who can really use it, that it can really impact their lives. And when we do testimonials, you know what's going to be so fun? Is to get people into this AMA with you who are using the device to talk about how it's changing their life, and to do these and have these kind of conversations with people actually from Africa who are picking it up and using it. And I think all of that, along with getting millions of these produced, is what's going to move this market in ways we can't even imagine right now. But it's going to be massive because we have the capacity, we have the energy, we have the desire, we have the community, we have people who need it. All the elements for a successful market are in place for this.
I love that. What do you got, Chris?
What I'd just like to add to that is I think the last couple of months are in no small part due to your community, right? Learning about us and talking about us. But I think the greater DeFi Web3 community is starting to learn about the project. And that's really important. I think that's where a lot of the growth is going to come from, just expanding our universe and our community of people. Like I said, we don't underestimate how important it is that this Cryptonaires community is on talking about us and educating other people on us. So I just remind you guys that we're a different kind of company, and a lot of people will lay claim to that, but here's the truth of the matter. We're not out there trying to get people to give us their money so we can deliver something in a couple of years from now, a year or two from now. We've got this device, and Robert, I know you've held them, you've seen them, that they're real things. This device is approved so we can get it through this next level, and we can begin to put it in consumers' hands. We've got other things. We've got the Cryptic, we've got SafeBox, we've got SafeTech, for Pete's sake, the biometrics. These are things that exist today. That's the difference. And I would just encourage the community, when you talk to people asking about who you focused on, who you looking at, who do you like, remind people of those things, because it's a very different ball game than saying, yeah, I see this other thing that's coming in and they're going to produce something in 2 years from now. It's a big difference. So we are a different kind of company. We are different. We're positioned differently, I think, to deliver utility and results. So keep that in mind.
I love that, Chris. I love that. Is there anything else you guys wanted to share before we ended today? I know we talked about the CE testing. We talked about 5G. We talked about Africa. Is there anything else that maybe we've left out that you guys feel is important?
I would just keep an eye on the social media channels. I've got a lot more exciting announcements and things coming up, and we're going to get this launch party planned. And whatever we can do to help, your community get involved, like what Chris is talking about, I have to say, the interaction, the outreach, the interaction, the follow through, all the work that your community is doing is fantastic. And Robert, you do a great job keeping them informed of all the people we talk to. You keep your eyes and your ears on the market globally, and having that background and that enthusiasm to stay on top of things helps everybody. It helps us. Every time I get into a conversation with you, I learn something, and that helps to drive me, and it helps us make good decisions. So we really appreciate that, and we're all here to help your community, to help people make good decisions, provide the information they need. If people have questions, want to get involved, all of that, we're here to do it. We have a lot more coming up, and we really appreciate the opportunity to talk in this channel. It's absolutely fantastic.
No, it's an honor. And if you look back into the community on October 25th, 24th, I actually called the bottom. I said, I'm buying in. I think this is going to go. And I was able to call the bottom for the community. So whoever jumped in when I did, they definitely rode up that 500% gain.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was an excellent call, by the way. That was excellent.
All right. Anything else you guys would like to say before we end today?
Thanks for having us. Love being here.
Oh, it's truly an honor, guys, and I really appreciate it, and I will do anything I can to help out the team and the community and watch this thing really blast past the cent. I think we're going to definitely do that over the next couple months, and it's going to be one hell of a ride. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and thank you for the community to showing up, and I will post a recording for people that can't be here, and I do appreciate you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you very soon, Brian. Thank you so much, sir.
Awesome. Great job.
All right. Aloha, guys.
Thanks.
You. All right, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. Appreciate you. You have a blessed